Hi, I am Mick from Missouri, and I am recording in the lovely state of Missouri, United States. This is my first InfoWars video, hopefully not my last. So I was on InfoWars.com looking through some of the articles, and one caught my attention. It was a war room report by reporter Rob Dew, and I have the link to that in the description below. It was called, "What if Millennials Storm Normandy on D-Day? Cell phones in hand, Tide Pods in mouth, totally unprepared for battle." Pretty unrealistic, right? Millennials today are a far cry from their ancestors that fought during World War II. Today, they are obsessed with taking pictures of their food and uploading them to social media, virtue signaling, competing on who is the most systematically oppressed, and getting degrees that have absolutely nothing to do with real life. There would have been no safe spaces that could have protected them from the situation they were entering. And in this case, a trigger warning would have meant something completely different. So I got curious. What happened in this time that changed from these brave men and women who fought for this country to millennials, arguably the most entitled, helpless generation? I found a correlation, so I'm going to go on a little off story. According to dog bite statistics on the Dog Bite Law website, which I will also put in the description below, the number of dog bites have been rising dramatically since the 1980s and are only getting worse. From 1986 until 1994, dog bites that were medically attended rose 36%. Then from 1993 to 2008, those rose another 86%. This, at least to me, seems like a change in dog behavior. Now, I am not talking about dog-specific attacks or breed-specific attacks. I know in the past the Rottweiler, the Doberman Pinscher, at least sometimes the Great Dane, and more recently the Pit Bull, the American Pit Bull Terrier, have been public enemy number one. Now, little side note, I am a proud Pit Bull mama, and this is a picture of my baby Emma Joyce. This, at least to me, seems worse than a specific dog breed attack. This seems like a total shift in dog behavior and the risk involved. According to an article in The Atlantic, and I will also put this link in the description below, millennials can be considered anyone born within the years 1982 to 2004. This makes me a millennial, unfortunately. But do you notice any overlap in those dates? Many of the same people who were raising these dogs that started to attack people also were raising millennials, arguably the most entitled and helpless generation. Now, without going too far into dog raising psychology, dogs need a clear alpha. They need a pack leader. They need someone to respect and look up to and to look to for instructions. And if they don't have that, they will act out violently, they will be unpredictable, and they become dangerous. If that's what happened to dogs, what happens to our children when we don't stand up to them? They're going to tend to rebel and act out. Look at the millennials. They've not been raised. They're helpless. Now, personally, I can see the parallel between these two things, why if we don't stand up to our dogs, we're not standing up to our children, and our children run our lives, they have no direction in their own lives, and you can kind of see this in the degrees millennials are getting. They're less inclined to go towards engineering or other STEM fields. They're more inclined to go towards social studies and things like that that really don't add that much to society. What we need to do is we need to entirely shift the way we look at raising a dog and, more importantly, a child. We need to stand up to them. Now, a little side story, personally, my grandma was growing up in the 50s, and she has stories of some dogs that lived across the street from her when she was a child. They were pit bulls. They were never a risk to anyone. They were raised right. Sometimes they were annoying and barked, and they were loose, and they never hurt anyone. They were raised properly. They were raised to respect one person. They were raised to respect their leaders. They were raised to have an alpha, and they would only look to their alpha or the leader of the pack in order to figure out how they need to respond to a situation. Now, with my pit bull, I am very clearly alpha, and she would never act out. She would never do anything without looking at me first to agree that it's okay. And she's very intuitive. If I even raise my voice at all, she rolls over, a sign of submission. If we're not raising our dogs like this, then we're not raising our children like this. Our children do not know how to respect their elders. They don't respect the information that their elders have to impart onto them. They don't understand how to be self-sufficient because they haven't paid enough attention. They haven't been given the security of having someone leading them so that they can become strong people themselves. And if we don't change this, it's only going to get worse. And our country is not going to be able to stand if this is our populace. If our people in this country are all like millennials, who can't think for themselves, who are very dependent upon their parents, very angry too, and tend to act in sometimes irrational. The moral of the story is that we need to be able to raise both our dogs and our children. If we don't, we are creating a very dangerous society. We need to love them enough to give them guidance, to give them that security of knowing where their boundaries are. Because if they don't, you cannot predict what they're going to do. So that's it for this video. Go ahead and check out the InfoWars store. I can vouch for a lot of the products. Personally, I use Caveman, DNA4, Super Blue. I've done the Icarin Cleanse. I obviously like their t-shirts. All the products are wonderful. People in my family use a lot more of them. We have never had a bad product, so go ahead and check them out. Help support the InfoWar, and with every package you get a People's Rights booklet, and you can also get a bunch of different types of bumper stickers. Personally, I cover my cars in them. You can get like this one, or Don't Tread on Me, which is my personal favorite. InfoWars Forbidden Information, Fluoride in the Water, or 9/11 was an inside job. So go ahead and check out the InfoWars store, help support the InfoWar, and thank you for watching.